Welcome to another episode on the People Productivity Channel, where you are the product and a better you is the solution. Today we have on a very special guest and a friend. I actually lived in the same town for years, and Zach had a great reputation for many reasons. I'm bringing him on today to talk about his turnaround experience and how he impacted the lives of other people in a very positive way. It's a good story for the times we live in, and hope you stay tuned. Zach, maybe you could introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, Frank. It's a pleasure to be with you today. My name is Zack Lemelle. I'm the president and CEO of New Hope Coaching and Consulting. And it's a company designed to develop leaders in the IT space at all levels.
Yeah. And boy, is that necessary, right? Everybody's trying to turn managers into leaders these days.
Absolutely.
You know, new generation comes along, right? Same challenges we had, if I might say so. But anyway, so Zach, one of your really, really interesting experiences, and you have many success stories to share, but one that, really touched me when we talked about it was your turnaround at Ethicon. Why don't we set the stage, your background getting into that job, what happened when you arrived there?
Sure. It is indeed one of my more interesting experiences in my corporate life, as it were. I was just recently promoted from a domestic business where I served a large portion of J&J's sales force into a global role. And quite excited, as you can imagine. First day was June 2nd, my birthday. Beautiful day outside, as a matter of fact. I was feeling good, dressed nice. When I walked into the building where my new job was, and I opened up the doors to a huge bullpen, as you can imagine, and on the right side were all of the leaders in their offices, in their glass fronts. My office was in the far corner. I walk in, I get hit with this amazing heat wave all of a sudden. I said, wow, what's going on here? The air conditioning, I knew there was some heavy energy going on in that organization.
Yeah.
As I walked in and began to see some of the people introduce myself, it was surprising that my leadership team, my new leadership team, were quite pensive. They pretty much kept their heads down. They stood up and waited, but they didn't necessarily come and engage.
Never a good sign.
Never a good sign. Got to my corner office and met my new assistant, who welcomed me with open arms. Welcome to here, and glad to have you here. And of course, now you begin the next day, the productive work. What I realized is this when I walked into that organization that day. They're in the middle of an ERP system, global. J&J's first global system, which I was surprised to hear. It was a year late. It was bleeding about $1 million a month. It had a $175 million business case against an $85 million investment. And they were behind.
Yeah.
Everyone in the organization, I'm sorry?
Oh, it sounds it. By the way, the history of ERP implementations is relatively storied as it goes, right? So.
Indeed. And this was mine.
Uh-huh.
They were implementing the ERP system. Again, as I said, it was running late and bleeding quite a bit of money. Well, what I found interesting about it when I did my analysis was the project manager was someone from the supply chain, not from IT. The IT had a secondary role to the project leader, who was again from the supply chain. In addition to that, Frank, it was around the time that they were doing people development, or we're doing performance appraisals, rather, I'm sorry. And in the infinite wisdom of the leaders there, they decided to take everyone's performance grade down by 1 as acknowledgement from the leaders there that they weren't happy with how this project was progressing.
Yeah, I always loved that in corporate, right? Where they're never sure what to do. It's like a layoff and, listen, let's be very thoughtful about it. And then the shotgun comes out and they treat everybody the same. Boom.
Exactly.
That's really disgraceful, because obviously there's differences in performance. Not everybody's doing a bad job. And if they are, the problem's somewhere else.
Well, through that, they decided everybody was doing a bad job, including the assistants from around the world. So everyone in the IT organization had their performance grade taken down. You can imagine what that does to their career, to the promotions possibility, and more importantly, compensation.
Morale.
Exactly. So exactly when I walked in there, the morale of that organization was literally in the toilet. Customer satisfaction was way below 50. The employee engagement scores that we have, which is graded at J&J by the Credo, turned out to be last of all the IT organizations that J&J has. Remember, J&J is a mutual fund model.
Yeah, they're 21 companies or something, right? Or they were. They're
There are
huge.
105 companies.
105? Boy, I got that one.
Business entities, yes, around the world. 150, 120, they fluctuate back and forth, number of employees around the world.
Now, how big was Ethicon in terms of revenue and stuff?
It was $3.5 billion in revenue. It was J&J's largest company in terms of the physical plant, because all of the medical device, or a good portion of medical device manufacturing, was done under the Ethicon umbrella.
Okay.
And so we had plants that were spread out around the world that we were also responsible for, that were implementing this global ERP system in the medical device portion.
Sure.
And so being late, taking everyone's score down, morale was absolutely in the toilet, as reflected by their Credo scores. Credo is king in J&J. It measures the cultural health of the organization, and this one was not very good. I knew I had to do some fairly dramatic changes in that organization. So what did I do? Well, first thing I did was introduce myself to the organization and who I am and what I was about. My family, my career. So I gave an intro to who I was. Then I spent
the real you, the real you.
The real me, not
no
the resume me.
Right? I mean, the real you, family, get to know you. That's a very open, kind of vulnerable way to do it. I like that.
Absolutely. Very first thing I did. Showed them my life, my career progression, my life progression on personal and professional, on a professional side. So I wanted them to know me first. Then I spent one-on-one time with everybody in the organization, meeting everybody one-on-one. Okay. Long time to do that, but it was absolutely critical to do. I needed to understand the kind of talent I had. I needed to understand where the culture was in the organization, what some of the bottlenecks were, and ultimately, why was this project late? That was one of the first things I had to do. So did the analysis, and what I realized that we need to go through a fundamental transformation top to bottom. New strategy with new vision, new mission, new strategic objectives, new measures. It also included new people in some respects. So I took my leadership team that I inherited from the old regime, and I created a new leadership team. But being in J&J, the blessing that we had was no one lost their job. Everyone went to a different job. So I created a new team to help mine to drive this new strategy. One of the things we did that was real important, though, Frank, was instead of developing this strategy and one leadership team in a vacuum, we included the entire organization. Once we had our vision and mission strategy done, we actually traveled the world in presenting this in draft form to all the people in IT, asking them for their input. Caveat, we may not change anything, but we want to hear what you have to say. Sure. Why? Inclusion. Inclusion builds engagement.
Yeah, I agree. Inclusion's great. That level of engagement, that people get from knowing they have a voice in it, they count.
Exactly. And so therefore they had some ownership to the vision and mission we were going after. It's one of the first things I did. Also gave them an opportunity to see me and an opportunity for me to see people I had only seen originally through this technology. So it created that human connection, which I think is so vitally important. Fast forward, as it will, to a few years later, we had gotten the first part of that system implemented on time, based upon a revised schedule, of course.
The new schedule,
New schedule, of course. We had gotten it back on track to achieving the goals it was laid out for. And after the first year of releasing our Demantra system, which was on-demand planning, we were able to generate $45 million of real hard savings year one, excuse me. That ultimately led to our organization receiving what we call in J&J the Image Award, which is the Academy Award for IT organizations around the world. This group had never won an Academy Award before. Wow. They won 3. And the only company to win 3 on the inaugural introduction of the Image Award for all of IT globally. So we're very, very proud of and excited about that.
Sure. Huge.
Our customer sat numbers, after doing some serious work within the organization and with my leadership team, we wound up with our customer sat hit the highest it's ever been in the company's history. The project got back on track. We delivered $45 million worth of value. And of equal import, our Credo scores jumped dramatically. That means the level of engagement in the organization skyrocketed, absolutely skyrocketed. So the work that we did in the very beginning, strategy, people, process, and then the work we did in the middle of helping people understand 2 core elements about themselves, which is 1, We valued them for their skills, competencies, and talents they brought to the job every single day. We let them know that verbally. Number two, we treated everyone as a person first and an employee second.
Yeah, boy, that's great.
Very important. Why? Because we as people want two things out of life. I don't care what it is, any relationship you have. We want to know that we're valued for the things we bring into any kind of relationship or circumstance.
Yep.
And we do matter as a person first. Those two simple concepts go a long way to tap into what we call discretionary energy.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by discretionary energy? It's coaching lingo, as it were. We go to work, we do a good job, we do it well, we leave and go home. That's engagement, right?
Yeah.
But when you're looking for innovation, creativity, out of the box, challenge the status quo, you have to tap into my discretionary energy. And I only give that to you if you inspire me to do that. You cannot buy it, you cannot command it. And we were able, through the work that we did and how we did it and how we showed up and how we led, we're able to truly tap into discretionary energy. That's what propelled the organization forward.
Sure. And I mean, it's clear that people understood you cared about them. I love that you're a human first and employee second.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
go ahead.
I had another guest on, and very good, but his father owned a business, and his father always said they're humans first and customers second.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's so true. Such a simple principle. If we ran our organizations, I don't care, not-for-profit or not-for-profit, I don't care what it is, that way as leaders, we would see extraordinary performance across the board. But because we lead from a title, in a position of power, in a position of authority, people only go as far as they feel comfortable going with their performance, okay? And that wasn't good enough for us. It's never been good for me in any organization I've ever led. I wanted to tap into that greatness that they all have, and I focused on that as a leader, and bring out their talents and gifts, and allow them to then flourish in the organization. And Frank, the successes that they achieved in a 3.5-year journey was just extraordinary.
Yeah, and I love the way you say that they achieved, because it is them.
It is.
Some leaders who go, look what I did. Well, guess what? You got it right. That's what they achieved.
In the third year, what we did, it's almost got me in trouble, by the way. Actually, it did get me in trouble, but I didn't care. One of the things we used to do in corporate America is we'd have sales meetings. We go off and we have these beautiful sales meetings, and they get training for a few days. They have a session where they give out a lot of awards and people are dressing up, and it's just a big event. Well, I did that with my IT organization. And I did that because when I got into the organization, Frank, there have been people working together for 15 years, but never saw each other, didn't even know what they looked like with each other. And I wanted the entire organization to get to know each other on a personal level. So we took a week, brought everybody from around the world to a facility in Florida. Mm-hmm. We did some development work, some training work, and then we concluded with a gala, an award ceremony gala.
Yeah, that's so, it's one of those rare things in IT.
Yeah.
And people, leaders in companies always like, well, let's recognize the salespeople, because they're creating revenue. And the other people that are creating, innovation products and services, hey, they need to be recognized too.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that they got to feel special.
And they did. That happened many, many years ago, and they still talk about that experience to this day. The other key thing that came out of that was my leadership team and I became so close in what we did, we became family. So even after I left and they went their separate ways, we still come out together every single year for our family dinner, as it were.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I love it. I love it. We've been doing this since 2006 when I left Ethicon.
Yeah.
And it continues to this day. As a matter of fact, my other business partner worked for me at Ethicon, and we work together now and to this day. So those lifelong relationships you create when you treat people like human beings first, use their word, they last indeed a lifetime.
Yeah, amazing. And, you spent a lot of time developing people, didn't you?
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Because by the way, nurturing people says, hey, I care about you. It is like family.
It is.
And, I want you to grow and be better and flourish. And so what did you do?
Well, what I did was, in the midst of this major transformation, and it got there in 2003, by the way, give you a timeline, ended in 2006. In 2004, I knew I needed to develop my own leadership skills. So I went to training to become a coach.
Mm.
And I took that program during this transformation. I even sent one of my other directors to also the same program because I wanted to have a support with to do this. And I took the skills I learned from life, from years of experience, and when I learned in coaching, and applied them to my leadership team and how I approached them and how I led them. That became contagious with them. They then began to lead their organizations that way, their teams, and then teams begin to lead and just cascade it right down to the entire organization globally. Mm-hmm. And so we created a culture that truly was inclusive. It was a focused and finished culture because results were key. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
We still have to meet our goals and objectives, and I didn't like meeting them. I wanted to exceed them. So it was critical that we did that. However, we did it from a sense of humanity, a sense of empathy, a sense of caring, and a sense of support. In doing that, discretionary energy hit, performance went right along with it, and they all excelled.
Yeah, and listen, this is a very timely story. We see so many organizations struggling out there. They're faced with these digital transformations. They've got to create an environment where people do put that discretionary energy into their work so that they can actually, begin to transform and outcompete. Those are very, very, big, long, hard, complex transformations. You've been in them. I've been in them. You've got an old company with a lot of legacy around. Boy, those are really tough challenges. So they're struggling because they still don't get the human side right. People talk about it, but, they never learn to treat other people as humans. They're like, they're a part that they've got there. And if the part doesn't work well, get another one. It's just a completely messed up model.
And I think that's the model that was prevalent during the industrial evolution.
Yep.
Where we went then to the service evolution, and there was a shift somewhat, not enough. Then we went to the information revolution, which we're in now. You can even take it to the next level of digitization.
Yeah.
It becomes even more critical now that we as leaders learn how to create community in the midst of technology, in the midst of the absence of that personal contact one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Very unique skill. We all have it, but not many of us know how to use it.
Yeah. I say frequently that, people were taught to think, but not to feel. Right. And it really is true. Humans are born with the skills, right? Because we're social animals. We're born with the ability to do this, but people end up, going to school, being an individual contributor, basically studying, taking a test, trying to outcompete everybody else. And, more and more, they're starting to learn to collaborate, especially as they go into college and do things together. But it's long overdue. And, these skills are learned by doing them. It's like golf. You got to go do it. You got to swing the club. You could be on Facebook all you want and be talking, boom, boom, chatting. But you got to get that human connection. And that's not a human connection, really. You got to get the real one going.
Exactly. And that's why, Frank, I introduced myself, the human Zack Lemelle, not the CIO, Zack Lemelle, to the organization right up front. That started the journey of them getting to know me. I wanted them to get to know me as a person first, not as their CIO. My definition of leadership is very simple. If they take away your title, will they follow you? Mm-hmm. And I've always wanted to lead. I always wanted to lead from that perspective.
Yeah.
The coach training I got helped me make that transition very smoothly, very easily, very comfortably. And it is it's a more palatable and easier, more engaging way to lead than the old model of command and control, or do as I say, or even some of the more inclusionary models that they're coming out with, that they can be somewhat complex. The simplicity of human connection goes a long way to driving performance. It just
it's enormous. And listen, the lesson for people to take away here, certainly for a leader, is to be your best human first. But for individuals coming into organizations, they have to create human connections with all these people. And now you've got kind of this hybrid work environment with the bulk of the people working remote. Leaders who did not have and develop these human skills to make connections, they're going to struggle more than ever now, because they couldn't do them when the people were right there. it's a bigger hurdle now to learn. Whereas if your bias was to really get to know people and share who you are in for real, you could do that right now on Zoom. You know, it's not as good as in person, but you can really get to know people and open up and build a connection. You could build a better one if everybody's together, like you brought everybody together down in Florida. That's the ultimate. But, you know, you can't always do that. So people need more than ever to, you know, do their best with the tools they have to make these connections alive.
And the role of leadership is to inspire. If we learn that that's our primary response, in addition to finding good talent, mind you, of course, it's our job. So talent, strategy, mission, vision, but it is ultimately to inspire your organization to greatness. It's there, it's right below the surface.
Yep.
That's discretionary piece I'm talking about. If you inspire me, I'm going to go to the ends of the earth for you because I care about you as a person first, and it's my CIO second.
Mm-hmm.
When you treat me that way as a person first and not an employee second, we now have that connection. That's a powerful, special connection.
Anybody, you know, anybody who wants to learn more about this should go on Google, type in Connect First, then Lead. There's an HBR article. So this is for our audience. You know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But what, you know, in their studies, they found that what people wanted first was that warmth. They wanted to know you were human before they wanted to know you were competent.
Right.
And the study proved this, Connect First and Lead. And by the way, that's not just for leadership. That's for any individual. You're coming on a team, they want to know you're a good human and you're trustworthy before they want to know you're competent and you're going to add value to the team.
And when you don't have that, you're going to have, your organization will slow down. You're going to have some turmoil and challenges in the organization because of that barrier that gets created, you know, and we create it. Stats say this, Gallup poll, right? Companies who are able to tap into discretionary energy employees grow 25% faster and greater than their competitors. Customer innovation jumps significantly. Customer satisfaction jumps significally. Mm-hmm. All of these core variables that we use to measure success in our society and in our business model, all of a sudden begin to blossom.
Oh, they all do better. Yeah, phenomenal.
They all do better. The data shows it. The data shows it. So if we were to lead from a place of caring, of humanity, empathy, without title, that's true leadership. When you're leading with your title, that's management. That's not leadership. And that's something that most of our leaders have to understand.
On the money, Zach, on the money. I think that there are just so many leaders out there that, you know, they've got to go up a learning curve here. And, you know, I think they have to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, look, I got to learn to be, you know, more human, create better connections, you know, hey, folks, look, you know, I'm going to be reaching out, you know, anything, you know, that I could do better, let me know. They should be open to it. And I think many people, you know, they want to hide behind that title. They're afraid to show that maybe they've got weakness in this area. So things fester. And
you said an important word, a critically important word, Frank, vulnerability.
Yeah.
Vulnerability. That is one of the most important traits of any leader is to be vulnerable.
Yes, big time. And you put the human first.
Yes, I put them all. I opened up the kimono and let them see it all. Right?
Yeah. You know, and it's so interesting how, you know, your results, you know, absolutely prove out all the research findings over the years. All these things have been studied and have been known for quite a while. You did it because you intuitively knew how to lead and do that. And you knew from experience, from the work you've done, this is how you get results. So you did it. But interestingly, you know, we could pull out research for all these things and say, hey, you know, connect first and lead. This is, you know, Harvard Business Review. Mm-hmm. And there you go. Another story of success, another success story that proves all of this research is valid and people should embrace it and use it and lead better.
Now more than ever. Before we had that human connection and contact that I could at least see you and shake your hand and see you face to face. Now we're doing it electronically. We need this more now than ever. You cannot lead an organization in this digital world the old way.
No.
Comes command and control, and people will react to that. You will get performance, but not the performance you're looking for. Understand that. You can get performance that way, and command and control works. but you will not get that extraordinary performance, extraordinary result, extraordinary outcomes leading from that position. You simply cannot do it.
No, you'll get that, you know, control level output where everything is controlled and people are doing exactly what they have to get done and no more. So you'll move at a snail's pace. You know, the creativity won't be there. People won't go out of the way to help people because heaven forbid the person you help, you know, gave them advice and they do something that doesn't work out. You get sucked into their problem because it's a blame oriented place, right? So people are like, oh, hey, I don't want to go down with his ship.
That's right.
You know, I've seen all this stuff over time and you know, your story so resonated with me. I knew you had a big success over there that it's so timely to have you on because this story is more relevant today than ever.
Yeah. And again, to your point, the times that we're in nowadays, how you lead determines your success of the organization, the success of the people in the organization, the success of the customers and clients you're trying to serve.
Yeah.
Because they want value from you as well. They want to know that they matter to you as well. So it doesn't matter what situation or circumstance you find yourself in, those two words come up over and over and over again. Simple, but not easy.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
Yes.
And, you know, the sooner people start swinging the club, the better the score is going to get. That's
Absolutely.
the way I look at it.
Practice
You
makes
gotta
perfect.
just do it. Yeah, do it. Get out there.
Just do it, like Nike says, right? Get out
Yeah.
there. You know, and I have couple examples of some leaders that I think leads from that perspective that have done a marvelous CEO. Alex Gorski, J&J, is one of those. Chairman CEO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alex leads with heart. Very smart, very sharp, very strong leader, but he leads from heart. So the difference is if you see Alex walking the street, think he's an average guy. You would never know it versus some other executive at that level who has an entourage around them at all times. This gentleman leads from heart. When he came in, J&J stock was $54 a share. Now he's been there, I don't know how many years. It's now $145 a share.
Yeah. Well,
growth.
Yeah. I mean,
Growth
here's a guy who really did it.
Yeah. And he and I used to talk quite often about these types of subjects. And again, I don't care what leader you are, profit, not for profit, when you lead from these simple characteristics, you're going to see your organization perform at levels you never thought. I had to get out of the way of my organization. If I stayed in the way, I'd have blocked them. I'd let them go. And I did that. And it got to a point where I wasn't sure I needed to be at work anymore because they became so self-sufficient, so self-supportive of each other and the work they were doing.
Yeah.
That it created an amazing experience that they still talk about at J&J to this day.
Yeah, and many of them have gone on to do well in their own careers, right?
Absolutely. Every one of my leadership team members are now doing exceptionally well. One is my business partner. She wound up being the chairperson of a large IT not-for-profit organization. I have one now that runs consumer for Ethicon. One went to a biotech. One went to marketing. So the list goes on and on and on. And that is what I'm most proud of. I tell people IT is my profession, but people are my passion. I can talk about the successes I did in IT, this system, that system, all that stuff. At the end of the day, that's irrelevant to me. What I want to be known for, I want my legacy to be about, is what happened to the people that I touched along the way, and their greatness they're tapping into, and the great things they're doing in their lives, for their people, for themselves and their families. That's my job.
That is the real legacy. Absolutely. The most important legacy in anybody's life is the lives they touched and how those people ended up flourishing or doing better because of it.
Absolutely, Frank. Absolutely.
So really tremendous, you know. It's touching that, you know, you're able to go into this place, feel that vibe, know that, you know, this was a turnaround situation for sure.
Yeah.
And then to pull it off. I mean, absolutely great job.
And that was after my entree to J&J wasn't that great. So after overcoming that and then moving on to other roles and opportunities, I'm thankful to God for the blessings he's bestowed upon me. I'm also grateful to J&J for the experiences they gave me. But most important, I'm in love with the people that I learned, I became to know and still know to this day from that experience.
Yeah, I did so much writing on IT, and IT failure was always a human problem. It was never about technology.
Never.
And, you know, the stories about IT failure, you go back to the 80s and 90s, you know, these you know, $100 million projects blowing up all over the place. You know, they were never designed at all for humans. It was all just a process versus people. And, you know, the human side always was the key to the business. And you look in the digital era where many companies have to transform themselves using technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a way, they're all going to have to use kind of this leadership style to get the best out of their people.
If they don't, they'll only get so far with their success. I remember the Harvard Business Review article that was titled, "Does IT Matter?" Excuse
Oh,
me,
sure. 2015, that caused quite a stir.
Big stir, and it should have, because 75% of the IT projects, to your point, failed.
Yep.
Why'd they fail? It was human failure, not technology related. It was a failure of leadership, as a matter of fact, more so than even the human aspects of it, because we were leading as though we were leading machines,
Yes,
software, and things instead of leading people, and therefore the failures are, I mean, they're extraordinary, as we can imagine. They're all written about in magazines. But when I learned this simple concept and began to lead from that perspective, I learned it took tremendous stress off me. It took tremendous stress off my leadership team and the people in the organization. And now, when we left there in 2006, Frank, at Ethicon, when I got there, nobody wanted to be in the organization. Everybody wanted out. No one wanted to be a part of this organization. When I left there, you could not get them out with a crowbar. And other people in the J&J wanted to become part of our team and part of our organization. That's the testimony to the leadership team that I was blessed to have, and how they led. They were that sort of blessed to do. And so that's why the stories still exist to this day. When you touch someone's heart, they never forget that.
Yeah, and they're always, you know, these stories, you know, they have these core truths in them that are just so important, and people can learn from them today, which is why I was excited to get you on our channel. Hey, do you have any other parting thoughts for people?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. You know, I tell you, I think in this digital age, it's even more important than ever for us to lead with a sense of humanity, to lead without a title, to understand that we're all in this together. It is an inclusive process. I don't care what your ethnicity is, what your gender is, what your preferences are. We literally, if we don't come together and do this together, we will never be successful as a society or as a organization.
That's right.
So I implore my colleagues out there to understand those three core principles. One is, if they take away your title, will they follow you? And if the answer is no, you're not leading. That people, they want to know if they're valued, as I said earlier, that for the talents and gifts that they bring to work every single day, and that they matter to you as a human being first before an employee. If we embrace those three core concepts, you can lead any organization to tremendous success, and an organization that has a lot of joy and happiness in it.
Yeah, fabulous. So, Zach, where can people find your coaching business online?
They can find me at the email is Zack, Z-A-C-K, at nhcoaching.com. NHC coaching, I'm sorry, nhccoaching.com.
NHC coaching, okay. Very good. Well, listen, really enjoyed having you on today. Thank you so much for being a guest on our channel. And all the best to you. Take care.